Hey Stanley, great to have you on the Lumber Jackalope podcast, where we talk all things wild, hunting, fishing, and especially the untold campfire stories that just seem unbelievable. But before we start, can I first of all say how much I love your fishing channel? I'll make sure to leave a link to it in the description, and everyone watching this, go down and click on it because Stanley's got some super cool content.
Dude, hey, I really appreciate that. Thank you. That means the world. It can be that whole thing. YouTube deal can be it can be a real drag. It can be a real thing on the head. So I really appreciate that. And also, I'm honored and stoked to be here, man. You have an awesome podcast. I love the premise. I love the foundation of what you're doing with this. I've been excited about this since we first talked about it. It was a couple weeks ago, and I was literally about 2 days away from starting to harass you, being like, okay, when are we doing this? Because I'm ready. So thank you for having me on, dude. I'm really stoked about it.
Oh, that's a pleasure. That's a pleasure. Like, looking at your channel, you look like, I saw, have you been doing this for 4 or 5 years or something? Like, it must have been quite the journey building it up, right?
Yeah, it was a weird one. And, part of that's going to be like, I never really disclosed, like I mention it, I talk about it, but I never really did much on disclosing what got us started, where it all came from, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to be putting a video out on that. But yeah, it's been a crazy thing. Like, it started off, I was in the oil field and I was working like 130-hour weeks. And I was like, man, I hate life. Mm-hmm. Everything in life sucks. And I just want to go fishing. Like, I think I've earned it, like when I got fired, finally I got laid off. And I'm like, you know what? I want to fish. That's what I want to be doing now. So I actually started doing YouTube and doing fishing and stuff like that on the very few days off that I had while that was all going on. And my intention was that I would be able to, one of these days, I would be able to leave that oil field mess and go do something that I enjoy. And we had a 10-year plan. It was going to be like, I had no expectations for 10 years or anything like that. Yeah. And, everything was going great. It was going fine, exactly as expected. And then I got laid off and it was like, oh man, all of a sudden it's like, I'm not in a financial position to do it or anything. It wasn't supporting, but it set us back, but it ended up, everything worked out really, really well in the end. And now, I did manage to pull this off as like something that, is a full-time endeavor for me. So
that's brilliant.
Very blessed. Yeah.
That's great. It's so cool that, you're able to turn your passion into, your full-time work. And I often hear people say that because you're working while doing your passion, that passion can sometimes dissipate. Do you often find that with your work?
I made a real concerted effort. The very first conversation that I had when we were talking about doing YouTube, the very first spark of a conversation that we had, we were talking about, we were all miserable. It was Easter. My family and I, we were all hanging out at the house. We were all in the oil field. So it was like one of those rare days off that we all had to get together, probably the first time we'd all seen each other in a year. And we were all miserable. Like my dad, my brother, and I were sitting there and we were drinking and just being stupid. And we weren't even enjoying the conversation that we were having. We weren't able to enjoy that time that we were having together. So we were talking, we're like, well, what are we going to do? What would we do if we could do anything in the world? What would it be? And we're all into fishing. We're all into the beach, and that's just how we all grew up. And so my mind is immediately like, well, fishing. Fishing would be the thing that I would do. Let's open a charter business. You've got a boat. I'll get my captain's license, and we can all work together and take turns and do a charter business. And and we'll be miserable and not making any money at that, but at least we can be fishing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. He didn't want to take that out to where he was forced to go fishing whenever at anybody's beck and call just to make a few dollars. Right. And I was like, that's absolutely right. I don't want that either. I don't want to lose that passion. I don't want to lose my enjoyment for it. So I was like, how can I enjoy this and still do it as something that's a possible source of income or revenue in the future? It's like, well, I can do it on YouTube. The entire premise of it being on YouTube, the idea is that, I'm trying to share that experience and I'm trying to share that enjoyment and that passion that we have for what we do. Yeah. So I forced myself to do that. I forced myself to where if I'm having a bad day, I'm not going to go film. That's I only get to film when I'm going to enjoy it my family has to enjoy it. I have to create an enjoyable experience for my family so that we can go out there and film that enjoyable experience.
Yeah, yeah.
And if something steps in the way, if I'm doing it too much, or if the conditions aren't right, or whatever the case may be, that's just not the right day to film. It makes a nice little balance. So we were mindful of that when we first started, and thank God we were, because that would have sucked to have lost that passion.
Yeah, 100%. Because as soon as you start filming just for the sake of revenue or just for the sake of, getting some more videos out, you start to lose that passion.
Yeah.
It almost becomes acting rather than being able to enjoy your hobby as well as bringing bread to the table. I saw some of your videos, and a few of them caught my eye, actually. You do some shark fishing, is that right?
Yeah. I do a shark tournament every year. We have this.
Oh,
We have a
really?
big shark tournament that we do, and I enjoy sharks. They're one of the bigger fish we can get down here, and they're honestly kind of easy to get. So it's like low hanging fruit for the channel.
Yeah. So, what does the shark tournament involve? Sounds intense.
It's perfect for me. And I've never placed or anything. I've competed in it. I've never won anything.
Okay.
But it's really cool because the island that we have down here is the second largest barrier island in the world, and it's like 120 miles long, and it's just a big stretch of beach for 120 miles that you're allowed to drive on.
Okay.
So the rules for the tournament, we got sharks that cruise up and down the beach.
Sure.
And the rules are simply that you cannot use, you can't go on a pier, you can't go on a jetty. You have to be on the beach, and you have to cast the bait out. You have to put the bait out. You can't use a boat or a jet ski or anything like that, a drone.
Yep.
You have to get the bait out there. So the tournament itself is like, it's man versus beast. Personally, like I take a surfboard and I paddle my baits just as far out as I can physically paddle them. A lot of people use kayaks. I don't like them.
Wow.
But the guys with kayaks beat me, so I can't say anything about that. But it's just about getting the biggest bait out as far as you can, and then you camp and you just hang out the whole time, and then you hook into a shark and battle is on.
Yeah. So you can't cast that bait out. It's not going to be deep enough for shark territory.
Yeah, with this island is really, really shallow, so we have to get those baits like I take mine about 400 yards offshore.
Okay.
The guys who win are going like 1,000 yards offshore in kayaks and stuff.
Yeah. What kind of bait is it? Big chunksy?
It's mullet. Mullet's what it's called, and I think you guys have them over there, if I'm not mistaken. I know they're in like the Pacific, but it's just like I don't even know how to describe it. It's they're all over the place.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a carp, I guess, slightly kind of like a carp.
Sure. Yeah.
I
Interesting.
just use the biggest one I can get, and I just strap the biggest hook I can find to his head.
Nice. What kind of sharks are pulled in?
We get everything.
Really?
For the tournament itself, it's typically like a lot of bull sharks or black tips, real common species. But like a week before the last tournament, somebody caught a week before the tournament, they caught a 14-foot hammerhead.
No way. Yeah.
We catch tiger sharks. Apparently, you can get mako. I've never seen that, but people say you can get a mako. That's like an offshore species. And we have great whites cruising around here too. So that never seen one caught, but they are here.
Oh, so they're kind of like the legendary catch or the old fishermen talk about, huh?
Yeah, that would be, even if it would be amazing, and I want to get one. That's like really high on my bucket list, but it's just to like say that I did it because there's not going to be any difference between a small great white shark and a large anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I want one.
Yeah. Also, so how do you win the tournament? Is it the biggest shark that wins?
They got multiple prizes.
Okay.
It's not just sharks; they do other species too. But for the shark categories, they got two prizes, and one is for the single biggest shark, and then the other prize is for OAL, the longest amount of shark that you caught. So for example, if somebody catches a 5-foot shark, if they catch a meter and a half shark,
Sure.
then if somebody else catches 4 1-meter sharks, that counts for 4 meters worth of shark.
Oh, interesting. So it all adds up.
Yeah, so and it's either the one shark that's the longest, or you can add up the lengths of all the sharks that you've caught, and those are the two prizes.
Okay, cool. Oh, that's awesome, man.
It makes it easier for me because I can still catch the smaller sharks,
Yeah.
which we do, and I can still add up to the guy who's he's not fishing for him, but he's fishing so hard for that really big one.
Yeah.
If that really big one a couple years ago was a 2 meter shark,
Whoa.
normally the winner is going to be like a 4 meter shark.
Okay. Okay.
Last year, the year before, I think it was like a 2 meter shark that ended up winning, and I had caught a ton of little guys. It didn't add up to that, but I was close. I could have done it.
Sure. Ah, I see. So it kind of like evens the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And I saw you guys cook up the sharks. How does that work? What does shark taste like?
It's hard to describe because it's kind of its own thing. I love shark. My family requests that I bring them home, and what we do is we just we soak them. Like I'll marinate them in teriyaki for an hour, the steak, and then I'll pan fry it in teriyaki sauce, and it's white. It's I guess if you've ever had mahi, it's kind of similar to mahi. Mahi is the best way I can describe that.
Okay.
It's a really white, chewy kind of meat.
Yeah. I've often heard, that I don't know whether places like China has given shark fishing a bad rep, but
Yeah, for sure.
are there limitations? Like, what's your opinion on all of that kind of thing? Is the reputation ruined because of these industrious shark fishermen?
Yeah. I actually think it is. I don't agree with the rules. I follow them, but I don't agree with the rules. We are allowed to harvest one shark per day, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Sure.
But there are certain species that we are not allowed to harvest. And I don't remember them off the top of my head. It's like sandbar sharks and sharks you've never heard of.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time, it doesn't matter because it's not like it's going to be like probably a kind of cool looking little shark that you don't really want to eat.
Sure.
It's worth letting him go. I have zero problems with that.
Yeah.
But what I have a problem with is some of these, like the sandbar sharks is one that I run into that issue all the time when I go offshore. I've caught. We'll go fishing for snapper or amberjack or whatever the case may be, and literally 90% of the fish that we catch get destroyed by sandbar sharks. They're
Really?
everywhere. I've had entire fishing trips lost to sharks just eating every single thing you catch. You cannot get them up off the bottom. I'm talking like 36, 48-inch fish that are getting eaten by these sharks. But you're not allowed to take the sandbar shark. If you're only taking one a day, I'm like, you should be. I believe you should be able to take a sandbar. Some of these, and there's other ones like dusky sharks, and I think one of the mako species and some other stuff. They're super protected, and it's just not necessary. Another one we have is like these. A good example. We have black tip sharks, which everybody kind of like. If you've ever done shark fishing, everybody knows black tips. They're real common. There's another one that's very similar called a spinner. And unless you have actually researched and know what a spinner is and have seen them, nobody has any clue that this is not a black tip. They look the exact same.
Seriously?
Ironically, they're the exact same shark. Ironically, the spinner shark has a black tip on his fin, and the black tip does not. That's how you tell them apart. So everybody thinks it's the black tip. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, black tip, you can keep like a 24-inch shark. You can take them all day long. Nobody cares because there's so many of them. Spinner sharks, they have to be like something like 60-something inches. They're the same shark. There's no reason that we need to be having these really ridiculous stuff like what's going on in China. Like people are just kind of overreacting to that a little bit.
Yeah.
The regulation is goofy.
That's it. I think a lot of the time with all wild meat, whether you've hunted it or fished it, if it's not something supermarket recognizable, then people are a little bit iffy about it, whether it's rabbit or deer in some places, or especially shark, because you would never imagine to see shark in the supermarket. So, especially the Western world, it's almost like, oh, you're catching shark, is that legal? But I think it's good to remind people that, shark are just another fish in the ecosystem, and as long as numbers are at a good place, then there's no reason not to go fishing for these dudes.
Yeah, that's one of the big things of the precedence of the channel, the foundation, like one of our core beliefs. So we have these species down here, trout and redfish, are the ones that all the sports anglers go for. That's the whole reason there's a whole tourism industry around people coming down here to my area and fishing for trout and redfish. And one of our founding beliefs for the channel and everything is like, dude, there are so many good species to catch, and there are so many species that are good to eat. You don't have to go and eat all of the red, you don't have to go out and catch every redfish and just eat that. There's a ton of other stuff that's out there. And it does make some people mad sometimes. I've gotten some really nasty comments about some of that stuff, like eating sharks. People get really animated about that one. They get real into it. And it's to me, I'm helping the ecosystem because
Exactly.
Those sharks are eating up the snapper. They're eating up your redfish and some of the other things that are real popular to get by around here. But they are really far more prominent than you would think they would be.
That's really interesting. Yeah. And talking about other species, is sea fishing your main kind of fishing you do, or would you go off-road and find rivers or lakes? I'm not sure what the terrain is necessarily like in South Texas, but how does it work in that way?
It's really flat. I don't have a lot of fresh water around me in this vicinity. So I am a saltwater guy, born and raised, but I am trying to branch out and experiment and learn more freshwater stuff. I've been actively pursuing that for about a year.
Okay, that'll be interesting to see. I'll keep an eye out on your channel.
I'm not good. I won't lie. It's not good stuff, but I'm learning.
Nice, man, nice. I've done a little bit of fishing, but if you know me well, then everyone knows that I'm very unsuccessful when I go out fishing. I've got a real burning fire to go out and catch fish, but somehow it just doesn't go well for me. So that's my little personal goal for myself. But I love it, man. I love going out, whether it's hunting or fishing, and getting the wild food and eating it. There's something super satisfying about that.
I agree. It's one of those things, and so saltwater fishing is my main thing. But I also grew up hunting, and I do better at freshwater fishing than I lead on. But being able to, there's something about, I don't know, like especially in today's day and world and how everything is. I don't even know how to describe this right, but there is something that's like, it instills a fire in you if you are physically able to. Well, like I take so much pride in being able to physically feed my family. And it's something that I can do regardless. My family will never go hungry. I don't need money. I don't need a job to feed my family. It will happen regardless.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I can take care and provide.
Exactly.
No matter what the circumstances are, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like you get some pride in being able to do that.
Oh, 100%. I bought my first air rifle about a month ago, and like I used my granddad's air rifle before, but when I bought this air rifle, everyone was like, "Oh, why'd you buy the air rifle? Why'd you buy an air rifle?" But I told them that holding this air rifle, this is like an infinite supermarket of fresh food.
Yes, yes.
So no matter where you go, you're always gonna have fresh, the best quality meat. You're always gonna be out walking in nature, so you're gonna feel good, and you've got a shopping cart that can be filled to the brim.
I have an air rifle, and my father-in-law, like we hunt various things around here. The rules are kind of restrictive on air rifles around here.
Right.
But I tell you what, pound for pound, I get more meat with an air rifle than I get more meat with my air rifle in the last 5 years than I've got with all of my real rifles combined, I think. I don't do enough hunting is where kind of where that stands with that. But yeah, I have fed my family with an air rifle. It is a very valuable, valuable thing to have.
I wanted to ask some fun questions because they're on my mind, and I've got to put them to you. Like, what's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
I don't know.
Really?
I have 2 sharks under my belt that were both over 10 foot, over 400
Whoa.
pounds.
That's insane.
But I wasn't able to really put a measuring tape to that.
Yeah. Did you get them in the
But
boat?
they were.
Or?
No. Well, so technically, when you're fishing, so here's my technicality on this.
Okay.
There's a rule that you would use for if you are catching like a world record fish. The rule is that the last line of leader has to hit the guide on the rod, and that's what counts as a catch. There was no way we would ever have gotten them in the boat. Plus, they're a catch and release only, so we weren't going to put them in the boat. But where do you draw the line as far as that being a catch?
Exactly.
And in these circumstances, under the world record guidelines for something like that, I did have the last leader wire on the guide of the rod, so these technically would have counted for catches.
Sure.
As that, so that's where I ride that one.
Yeah.
Biggest fish I ever put in the boat. I have a tough one with that. I got like an 80-pound drum under my belt, which was a massive fish. That was probably about 3 pounds shy of a world record.
Seriously?
Yeah. I got that when I was like 12, and I did a podcast about this. I can't go into the particulars on this one because I had to be super careful telling the story.
Oh, okay.
I do a podcast, which we're going to talk more about, you and I, because I want to do the same thing. I want to have you on over there. But I do the Tackle Box Talk podcast, and I did an entire episode where I talk about the biggest fish I ever caught, the biggest thing. It was not a legal trip.
Really?
So I have to be super careful about telling that whole story. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I had to have notes in front of myself. Don't say this. Don't say this. Don't mention this person.
Yeah. But
I tell the whole story of mine. Yeah. The boat that I was on got blown up.
Seriously?
Seriously, they bombed it. It got bombed.
Goodness me. Yeah, man, I'd love to join that podcast. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, there was another video of yours that caught my attention. The stargazer fish. What's that all about? That thing looks crazy.
I love that video. That was the goofiest. We were just fishing at the beach, and this is a fish that buries itself in the sand.
Yeah.
And they're really pretty. They have this beautiful stripes, and they got these spots all over them. But they have this face that just looks like they're just pissed at the world. And so we caught one. We caught a really big one. And I'm on this kick where, like I said, part of my core beliefs in the channel is that I want to show you these other things that you can eat.
Yep.
So I was like, man, I got to try this. I got to know if you what is this fish like? So in researching that, I found out that, well, for one, and I already knew this, they have an electric shock thing between their eyes, just like an electric eel, and they will shock the crap out of you. Yeah, it hurts. I've had them shock me. Very painful. They also are poisonous.
Oh man.
So if they stick you with one of their fins, it's going to be a really painful thing.
Yeah.
And then there was another one. They're called the most vicious creature in the world, or something like that is their nickname. And it's because they had all the trifecta of terrible things. It was they could shock you, they were poisonous. I forget what the third one. I talk about it. I don't even remember.
Sledgehammer.
But yeah, so we just. Yeah, exactly. Like they come like packing heat or something. I don't even know. They got a gun on them.
Oh man, Texas fish.
But I cooked it up, and it was so good.
Seriously.
It was so good. It was like the ugliest looking fish, and it tasted so good. And I was so happy with this video because it was the most outlandish, or one of the most outlandish things that I had caught and eaten at that time, and it absolutely tanked on YouTube.
Oh, I saw.
It totally bombed. It went nowhere until like 6 months later.
Really?
It hit. Yeah,
That's
it took it 6 months for to find an audience on that.
Man.
But it was a damn good eating fish.
Yeah. So it looked mean and it tasted mean.
Yeah. For real.
Oh, that's so cool. So are there other fish like that in around Texas area? That do you get like eels and that kind of thing around Texas?
we have eels. I haven't done that one yet.
Okay.
There's also another one, a needlefish, which are kind of like they look like an eel, but they're just a long, slender fish with a lot of teeth.
Right. Okay.
They smell terrible, and so I'm going to be eating one of those. I got to do that, guy.
That'll be a fun video.
Yeah. It's just that's just going to be like part of my thing now, is just eating all these terrible fish.
Yeah.
And there's lots of interesting options available. Like my menu, it's available. I've got 10 years worth of content I can make.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever been in a dangerous situation in the ocean when it comes to fishing, or have you ever felt like oh boy, like this is not a good situation? Have you ever been in that kind of spot?
I've been stranded a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even like talking about that. There's no fun story to tell. If your boat breaks down, it just sucks.
Oh, can't even
but
imagine.
we got pulled in. Like, long story short, all those times we got pulled in on, we were cool.
Yeah.
The one that I do have, like, especially talking about like hunting. So I do a lot of spear fishing.
Oh, I was gonna ask actually. Yeah.
I love getting in the water. I love getting in the water with them. And this one time about 2 years ago, I did a video on this one too. So I was spear fishing. I was tearing it up. I was spearing all these fish out of this oil rig. And the water clarity wasn't great, but it was perfectly good enough to be spear fishing. I just couldn't really see out past the oil rig. I was down inside of it and couldn't see much farther outside of it. So I'm spearing fish and I'm just tearing it up. We're bagging out on everything. And then all of a sudden, everything disappears. Like, all of the fish are just gone. And you can see it in the video. Like, in the video that I did, I'm spearfishing, there's fish everywhere, and I go and I put one in the boat, and then I go back to the oil rig, and the fish are just non-existent anymore. And then there's this big stingray that comes swimming by. So I'm like, I got to get this on camera. So I go swimming with that stingray. It was a big stingray, and I went swimming up next to him. I'm like petting him and playing with him and stuff. Yeah, and the thing about this is that we were in probably 100 feet of water. It's 100 feet deep where I was at. And stingray live on the bottom. They don't go swimming on the surface. That's not something they do. Right. Something scared him up. Something scared this like 36 to 48 inch, this 1.3 meter stingray. Something scared it off of the bottom to where it felt the need to go swimming away. And that same thing scared all the fish away from that oil rig.
So, sorry, 1 second. So it wasn't the stingray that scared all the fish away. It was something else.
Yeah, something else scared that stingray. They weren't gonna. Nobody would have cared about the stingray. It got scared by whatever scared off all the other fish.
But before you go into more detail on that, were you not scared swimming alongside the stingray? Because Steve Irwin and all that side of things, are they a threat?
Yeah, they are. I'm real cautious with it.
Okay.
So when I'm petting him, what I was doing, I was at arm's length. So imagine, in your mind's eye, this is a 1.3 meter stingray.
Sure.
So I've got my arm and I'm tickling him right on the edge of his fin. He couldn't reach me with his tail. Like, I know exactly where his spine was at.
Yeah.
And he couldn't reach me. And he did actually try. You can see it in the video. He does like a spin to try to get me.
Really?
But yeah, I was close enough to touch him. I wasn't close enough for him to get me. I wasn't in his strike zone, which I was real mindful of that.
Yeah. So what was it then that scared away all the fish and the stingray?
I don't know. I never saw whatever it was, but it was one of those things where it was really eerie, because you had that feeling that something, it knew I was there. Whatever it was, and it had to have been big to scare up a stingray of that size. It was probably, like, if I'd had a guess, it was probably a big hammerhead. And for a stingray that size to not only try to get away, but it went to the top of the water column and tried to get away around the oil rig. So that, it was really scared. So I'm guessing this was probably like a 10-foot hammerhead. They eat stingrays, and it would have been one about that size to be able to eat him.
Man.
So if I'm throwing darts, that's what I would have guessed, is that you could tell. I mean, you could feel something was in the water around you. There was a change in the mood.
Oh boy.
Of the water around there.
Man, that does sound super eerie, actually.
Yeah, eerie is the best way to describe. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it must be kind of dark down there. Do you have a torch on you, or do you just do it in the daytime, or?
It was in the daytime, and it was dark when I dived down from the surface. It was clear enough, like it's probably 30-foot visibility.
Okay.
So I could see far enough. But yeah, when you go down, when I was diving down about 30 feet to the point where I couldn't see the surface, and it was a little dark when I was doing that.
Oh boy, can you do spearfishing at night, or is that just like a no-no?
You can. I never have. I've never tried that.
Yeah, because I suppose it's all about visibility for spearfishing. So.
Yeah. You got to be able to not just you can't just see them. You got to be able to line up your shot and everything.
For sure. And so what do you usually go for when you go spearfishing?
We have a species here called spadefish, which I love. There's no regulations on them. They're people don't fish for them. They actually don't even take bait. Like they eat jellyfish.
Oh, right.
So they're a species of angelfish. They're really meaty. There's a ton of them. They're actually kind of friendly, so they're easy to shoot. Like they let you get right up close to them. And then
the dodos of the ocean. Huh?
Yeah, they're actually like I limit the amount of them. I used to fill the boat with them. I would go and I mean hundreds of pounds of these guys.
Oh man.
And now I'm more along the lines of where I'm just going to eat, I'm going to bring back enough to where I want to freeze some, I want to have some in the future.
Yeah.
But it's when you go and take them off the spear, they will literally like sit there and cuddle with you. It kind of gets to where it's like it gets kind of hard taking them sometimes.
Yeah. Funny question. When was the last time you bought fish from the store?
Not that long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went fishing and I filmed a video, and it was a great video.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed it.
Oh,
I had
cool.
fun, but I didn't catch a damn thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna end this on the right note. And I went to the fish market and I bought a fish to bring home and cook for my wife and daughter.
Oh man! As soon as you pick up the fishing rod,
it wasn't long enough ago.
Yeah. Your taste buds knows what's coming, so you got to satisfy the taste buds with fish at some point.
Oh, I was coming home with fish one way or another.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Do you ever do crabbing or lobster fishing?
Yeah, crabbing we do a lot down here. They are real picky about the rules on them.
Are they?
And I'm fine with that because people are really dumb about following the rules. So I'm a little strict on that one myself. But yeah, in like late August and in late summer, we get a lot of blue crabs around here, which are excellent tasting. I love them. And we'll go out there. You can set traps and stuff for them, but actually we have fun just going out at night on the rocks, just with like gloves on and like nets and trying to catch them, just having fun with the experience of trying to catch them as opposed to just setting out traps.
Yeah. Are those suckers pretty dangerous? Can they put up a bit of a fight, or?
It hurts. It hurts a lot, but they're not gonna like take off a finger or anything. It's just gonna be really painful if you mess up.
Yeah. Oh man, that's nice. Good bit of crab meat. Can't beat a crab sandwich.
Yeah. And then we'll go like make a bonfire, and we'll have a couple of beers and cook up crabs on the fire and just kind of have some fun with it.
Oh, that's the best way to end a day, in front of a fire, with the food you caught. It doesn't get better than that.
With friends and family, just in the fresh air, and I mean that's just like the greatest times in life for sure.
Without a doubt. And it's so nice that your whole family's involved in the channel, in fishing, and you can share that passion.
Yeah, absolutely integral. It had to be a family thing. I was, when I first started, I was in the oil field. I wasn't able to see my family, and part of it was like in the decision-making process of when we were going to start doing it was like, I want to spend more time with my family. I'm not trying to spend less time with them. This is a family endeavor.
For sure.
It had to be. So that has absolutely been a blessing for it.
Oh, that's so lovely, man. And you were saying like when you got taken off from your oil job. And I've been in the situation before when you're out of work and you're at a crossroad and you're like, okay, what do I do now? And although tensions are high and you might be stressed out, it's almost a really nice time in your life where you can decide what you want to do, and often taking the risks can be the most rewarding ways. Although it's a struggle to get where you want to be.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly support that. You're absolutely right.
I think, it's if you can make it work, it's super rewarding. So I have to hats off to you, man.
I appreciate that.
When you went hunting back along, was that kind of like a thing you did like 10 years ago, or do you still pick up the rifle, shotgun, and go out and do some hunting?
It's really hard to find a place to go hunting around here because of the oil field. We have all these ranches, and there's a lot of big open land, and all of these guys lease their land to the oil companies instead of doing hunting leases. So it's really, really hard to find a place to go. I still go hunting. I still go out. I have not been able to go to any place that's really desirable.
Okay.
I do have some plans on doing that. It's really difficult endeavor to pull it off, but it is still a big part of my life. When I was doing it growing up was before that was really like a big thing, and we would like trap hogs, and that was trapping hogs and hunting hogs was a big thing growing up.
Really?
And that we did all the time. That growing up was huge for us. We'd do dozens of them a year.
Oh, okay. Are they like pests in the area?
Yeah, they are. They tear up stuff, and under normal circumstances, like back then, a rancher would be having a problem with hogs tearing up their land, and we'd tell them like, hey, I'll take care of that. Let me, if you don't mind me walking out on your land, I'll go take out a couple of hogs. I'm going to eat them, so I'm going to pull them off your land for you if you just let me go walk out there. And the catch is, I absolutely promise I'm not going to take any deer. They want deer.
Sure.
So I'm like, you can have that. I just want the meat. I just want the hogs. I want to help you out. And it was a symbiotic relationship. And nowadays, I have that exact same conversation. I have had this conversation a dozen times, I swear to God, in the last year, where somebody says, I'll be at the meat market. We have this little meat market like 3 blocks from my house that's like family owned and operated, and it's all like hunters. That's where we all go to process our meat. And I'm in there, and somebody would be like, oh, yeah, I'm out at the ranch, and I got all these problems with hogs, and I just can't manage, 175 acres. I can't manage all the hogs they're just tearing me up. And I literally, I'm not even kidding you, a dozen times, I have had this conversation where I'll tell the guy like, hey, just so you know, I'm hungry and I like hog. I am happy to go out there and shoot a couple, and I will bring them, I'll drag them off your land, and I will help take care of this problem for you. And if it's more than that, like if that's not going to help, like if you need a dozen taken off of your land, I will take a dozen off of your land, and I will hand out that meat and let people have it. Like I will make sure people eat it, and it's a used resource and stuff. And every single time I make that thing, every time I say that, 100% of the time to date, people tell me, all of a sudden it's not like I'm removing a pest from their land that's giving them a problem. All of a sudden, they want $3,000 to let me out on their land and do it.
Oh, that sucks.
It happens every single time. And it's about like a $3,000 going rate for them because that's what the oil field would pay them to get on their land. So it's a ridiculous system.
Yeah.
I can tell him all day long I'm not going to take a deer, but he's not going to trust me on that. I'm sitting here saying that I want hogs. Like, why would I want hogs? That's ridiculous. There's deer available. So I understand, but it's just funny how every single time I have this conversation, that is exactly where, like, it's just like a carbon copy response every single time. It's this big problem that they are trying to take care of until somebody offers, and then it's a money-making opportunity.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, that's an annoying cycle. What advice would you give for someone like me who wants to go out sea fishing? I choose sea fishing because you're the saltwater pro. but
I don't know about that, but I appreciate it.
What advice would you give to get started? Obviously, you're not from Britain, but an ocean's an ocean. So, what would you say to get started sea fishing?
If I was over there, like say I was going to head over there. And let's say I was going to spend an extended amount of time. Like, say I'm going to be there for 3 months, and I want to do some fishing. I'm going to be learning it just like anybody else. So what I would do in that circumstance is, first off, I would go get coffee early in the morning over at the bait stand, and I would hang out there and talk to everybody. I would make friends at the bait stand in the tackle store. See what they're doing, see what they're talking about, see what everybody's, what everybody says. Make some friends, see if, maybe somebody will take me out with them. Maybe I can convince someone to like put me on their boat with them or something. And then I would, after I learned at just a little couple starting points, after I learned something, I would just immediately go out to the beach or whatever I can get to and just start fishing, just start making mistakes, just start trying out the things that I've been told and then researching it maybe online, watching some YouTube videos. I would definitely look up good YouTubers in that area and try to make friends with them. But I would try to emulate them and copy what they were doing.
Sea fishing and many aspects of fishing often seem a little bit daunting to me because, you see these videos where people are saying, okay, you need to look at the waves, try and figure out where the sandbanks are, figure out where the fish are feeding, where the roots are. And I think, oh boy, I just see a whole lot of water. I'm the kind of person who will do that kind of research if I know it's going to pay off. But, one video isn't going to apply to all locations. So I think that side of things is a little bit daunting to me.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? The number one thing, I go back, like I haven't even watched one of my old videos in so long, but I have gone back and watched videos. I grew up fishing, spent a lot of time fishing, but man, I did not know fishing until I started this YouTube channel. Like I learned a lot along the way because I spent so much time researching and trying to get better. Yeah. And looking back at what I used to do is so comical. Like I don't do anything that I used to do. It's so dumb. But I was still catching fish.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, not as good. I was making a ton of mistakes, and it wasn't as good, but I was catching fish. And I'd say it'd be the same thing. Like, if you were to come over here, if I was to go over there, you're gonna do some stupid stuff. You're gonna do it wrong. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you're not gonna catch fish. It just means you're not gonna be as good as you could be a couple years down the road. Go have fun. It's all about time on water. Go enjoy. The most important thing, get some fresh air. Go get some time on the water. Stretch your muscles. Get some vitamin D. Get some sun in. That's probably more valuable than any catch you're going to get anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, something I've always loved about fishing is even if you don't catch anything, you're sitting out in nature, you're enjoying the scenery, you got fresh air, and it just feels good, especially when you're with friends and family as well. You can't go wrong.
That's what it's about. The fish that you catch, the dinner that you bring home, it does great things for your ego. It does things that, it does great things for your confidence and everything else. But at the end of the day, that's not what it was about. Very rarely is the fish that I catch what any of those trips are about. It is about time with my family. First, time with my family and time in nature first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. I can 100% agree with that. Definitely. So you often fish from the shore, right? Do you find more success, or what do you prefer, fishing from the shore or taking the boat out and having a good time in the deeper side of the ocean?
I love the offshore stuff. The farther we can go, the bigger those are the most memorable fishing trips of my life. But that having been said, I'm also kind of realistic about it. Like I love the beach, and if I was stuck to do any one of those things, I would lose a lot of love for fishing in general. It's the ability, it's the being able to like on Friday, I'm gonna go fishing on Friday. Nice. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be an adventure. I might go to the beach, I might go offshore, I might go to the lake, or I'll go to the bay. It's like I get to experience the joy of it's going to be a different, strange adventure regardless of whatever happens, and you have to have that variety. You have to be able to, go do all of these different things, because if you're kind of stuck on one, you get in a rut real easy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Doing the same thing over and over. Although you may catch different fish, that's the beauty of fishing, being able to go to pretty much any body of water and expect a different adventure. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And that adventure can be, if you got storms coming in, maybe it's not even about the catch. You've got storms, or sometimes the adventure is, I decide to go to the beach on a day when there's 1,000 people at the beach. And so part of the adventure, that might not sound fun, but part of the adventure is okay, this now just became like a an organized competition.
Yeah.
How are you going to fare against everybody else? And if you do catch something, I had this one experience which was freaking awesome a couple weeks ago. So everybody's fishing out at the beach, and I pull out there, and I've got to make a video. So I pull out my biggest rod, and I swam it out to the next sandbar. Like everybody else is casting off the beach. And I'm just like this big goofy dude. Everybody's in their fishing gear, their expensive shirts, and they've got all the whatever gear that you have to get from the sports and tackle store. And I'm in a t-shirt and shorts. I swim that big bait out there, and man, like 45 minutes later, I caught a 40-inch redfish. A little over 40 inches would be like a 1.3 meters, 1.25 meters.
Oh man.
It was like one of those prize catches that everybody wants, and I'm in the middle of everybody. All these dudes who've been fishing here all day long, and I just roll up out of nowhere and get it after 45 minutes. But it was still a stroke of luck that fish happened to be going by there at that time and just happened to not take anybody else's bait. That there's a lot of luck involved in that. But rest assured, all those guys are looking at me, and you're damn right. I looked back at them like, yeah, buddy. I owned it.
Yeah, sunglasses on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I knew in my heart, like, I'm not going to lie about it. I knew I'm full of it, but I'm going to be full of it.
In terms of recipes, what's your favorite fish to eat?
Far and away, and I ate a lot of fish. The far and away, my absolute all-time favorite fish is swordfish. And my top favorite fish, I've gotten to the point now where like it's like swordfish, and there's some other ones, but mainly the ones that I like the most, I eat them raw. Swordfish, I don't cook it. I eat it raw.
Serious?
Yeah, and a lot of my favorite fish, swordfish, wahoo. Amberjack is one that I enjoy a lot. Rainbow runner. I love fish, so there's a lot. There's a lot at my list is top heavy. But all my favorites, I eat raw. I don't even cook them.
Wow, that's so interesting. So, what do you fillet them out? Because I know you have swordfish steak. That's probably like such a small portion of the meat compared to the whole fish. Like, how would you prepare a swordfish?
So yeah, we fillet them out, and then we'll package them into serving size packages and bags and freeze. We have a whole setup for packaging the meat to save. And so I'll do typically with like swordfish is I'll have enough for my whole family, in one package for dinner, and my wife and daughter are not going to want it raw, and we do freeze it. That's how we like kill off any like yeah, so there's no issues with like parasites and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how we take care of that, is freezing them. So what I'll do is I'll pull that out, and I'll take my portion of the fillet and I'll set it off to the side, or maybe I'll sear it, but probably not. I'm probably just gonna eat it straight raw, and I'll probably sear theirs. And to do that, I would just put like some teriyaki in a pan, or balsamic vinaigrette in a pan, and then I'll get the heat on it, let it get to heat. And I'll put the filet in there, and it'll sit for like 30 seconds on a side, maybe a minute on each side, until it's got a cool little change of color. And then that's it. Like, even my daughter, real picky about food, but she'll still eat, like, if I'm searing swordfish or something, she'll still eat that. It works.
Nice. Yeah. Because, like, swordfish can get pretty big, can't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I hadn't got a really big one yet.
Okay. Yeah. So if you ever get a big swordfish on, you're thinking like, right, this is gonna be a great fish, like for my confidence, get the fish on camera, but it's also gonna taste great, and I love that double bonus.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an incredible hobby, and I think more people should do it if they can. I live right in the city, which is a shame because I have to travel like 2 hours, an hour and a half to get to the sea, and it's a bit of a pain to get moving. But once I'm out there, then it's great. Get fishing, I love it.
I will say, as a means of like trying to encourage people, and I understand that gas and petrol prices can be really high, and you don't always have the time to do everything. When I first was thinking about doing this YouTube channel, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I want to do fish. I want to be at the beach. That's what I want to do with my life. That's what I have a passion for. One of the reasons I was so set on that is because I'm a beach person and I enjoy fishing and all that, but I live an hour and a half away from the beach. So that I have 500 videos on my channel. I had to drive over an hour and a half for every single one of those videos.
Seriously? I thought you were like 5 minutes away, stroll down.
You'd think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think that. But I want to use that as a means of encouraging, like, you and anybody else. Like, if you're sitting at home and you're listening to this and you're like, man, it's an hour and a half. I just, no excuses. I dedicated a whole channel to something that it requires a 3-hour drive to make it happen. You got to do the same thing, man. Get out there, touch grass. The time frame doesn't come into consideration.
Oh man, I can't use that as an excuse anymore. And that's even more of an incentive or reason to go and subscribe to Stanley, because he's putting a lot of effort into his videos. So,
and if you do, leave a comment. I understand like all that YouTube stuff, like and subscribe and blah blah blah. Screw all that nonsense.
Yeah.
Even if you don't subscribe, if you do come over, leave a comment just so that I can have an opportunity to say hi.
That's the way it should be, It's all about the community on YouTube, and it's sad that these big channels have kind of killed off that sense of community. But there are individuals like you and I who just want people to check out our content. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's for them.
Yeah.
The content that I make, it's for I want to share the experiences that I have with other people. My wife gets mad at me because the channel's name is Stanley Orchard. And so she's always, if we get in an argument, that involves YouTube stuff, she's like, well, it's your YouTube channel and it's all about you and all you do is film you. And I love this argument because it is so dead wrong.
Yeah.
I will often film a fishing video where I don't catch a single fish. It's all about everybody else. I'm showing you the beach or going offshore. I'm showing you fishing. I'm showing you some fresh air. Through the eyes and my family, I have a family experience in there with whoever I'm with at the time. It's going to be some family member. What I'm trying to do is share that. It's through my point of view. The Stanley Orchard is like, I'm trying to show you all of this through my point of view, but I'm trying to share it out there. It's not about me. I'm not trying to make myself look awesome. A lot of times I'll make fun of myself. You might not even realize I'm doing it, but I have a real self-deprecating sense of humor. If I'm doing something and it's like, you feel like it's not for you, let me know, because my intention is to make it for, if somebody stops by the channel, that's supposed to be content for you, not me.
No, 100%. That's it. And, even with like these podcasts, it's like, although not many people are watching it, there are a few people that watch it the whole way through, and I think, you know what, it was worth it because that person, knocked it on in the background, did the stuff they had to do, but they enjoyed it, and that's what it's all about for me. But when I saw your channel, rest assured that the first impressions of your channel wasn't all about Stanley. It was all about, when I saw it, I was like, cool, this is like a family fishing channel, and I loved that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
that
awesome,
means
man.
that my family also meets your approval, and that means a lot.
Oh, that's so nice, man. There's so much more we could talk about, but I kind of wanna pause it here because you're gonna have so many more cool stories to tell in the future. And as I always say with the people on my podcast, I'd love to have you back in the future. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And you've told some really, really cool stories, but I don't want to spoil all of them. So we'll get you back on soon, and I'd love to join you on your podcast sometime, and we'll continue to exchange our stories, because that's what the YouTube community should all be about.
I'm all about it. I'm already excited anytime. And anytime you need, like, I don't even care if you want somebody just sweeping the floors in the office or anything like that. I really do appreciate and enjoy your podcast. I'm all about it all the time, and you can absolutely expect that I'm going to be harassing you about coming on over to our podcast as well, because I'm enjoying this conversation.
Oh man, it's been a pleasure to have you.